Well, good morning, Jaginder Rana here. Topic for our discussion today is special features of marine risks. The contract of marine insurance is a contract whereby the insurer undertakes to indemnify the assured in manner and to the extent thereby agreed against the marine losses. That is to say, the losses incidental to maritime adventure, vide Section 3 of the Marine Insurance Act 1963. The law defines marine adventure in Section 2D of the Marine Insurance Act 1963 as any adventure where any ships, goods or other movable referred to as insurable property is exposed to maritime perils. The earning or acquisition of any freight, passage, money, commission, profit or other pecuniary benefit or the security for any advances, loans or disbursement is endangered by the exposure of insurable property to maritime perils. Any liability to a third party that may be incurred by the owner of or other person interested in or responsible for insurable property by reason of maritime perils. That means maritime peril means the peril consequent on or incidental to the navigation of the sea. That is to say, perils of the sea, fire, war or war-like activities, pirates, robbers, thieves, capture, seizure, restraints and detainments of the princes and people, jettison, bartry, and any other perils which are either of the like kind or to be designated by the policy by Section 2E of the Marine Insurance Act 1953. So by their very nature, ships are rarely stationary, but more mobile and ambulatory, and therefore management is delegated. The ships operates in domestic waters, international waters, and on environments that are frequently turbulent and hostile, and the weather conditions that are most unpredictable. Apart from the ocean current, ships have to navigate through heavy weather and encounter storm, tempest, cyclone, hurricanes, sea quakes, and other hazards. Not to mention fire and mutiny by ship's crew members and attacks by pirates and robbers and aquatic creatures like monster whales. So even when they are in ports, they are subject to risk that cannot usually be directed, controlled by either the ship management nor the officers of crew of the ships. Hence, marine insurance, both cargo and hull, is a class of business quite complex to underwrite. Marine insurance covers are availed of by even those who consign their goods and commodities by other means of transport such as railway, train and trucks, railway which carry cargo of reward. So what is most essential for marine insurance is that there has to be in place a contract of carriage. So the writing of marine insurance is rigorously regulated by a plethora of laws and regulations, some domestic and quite some international to wit. So the Insurance Act, Marine Insurance Act 1963, Carriage of Goods by Sea Act 1925, Carriage by Air Act 1988, Carriage by Road Act 2007, Multimodal Transport of Goods Act 1993, Railways Act 1989, Institute Time Clauses Hulls, Institute Voice Clauses Hulls, Institute Cargo Clauses, the Stamp Act 1899, the York and TUIRAPS rules, and Hague Visible rules. So the word institute refers to the Institute of London Underwriters, who draft rules, clauses and conditions that are adopted universally by the insurance companies of all nations. In addition, every seafaring nation has its own set of legal rules and regulations to ensure the safety of its coastal water, ports and harbors. So shipping operations are classified under three broad groups. First is liner or break bulk operations, the transport of industrial or commercial shipments on regular or semi-regular service routes, container and RO. RO means roll on or roll off ferry operations. have largely replaced traditional break bulk shippings. Second, bulk cargo operations, where a whole ship is consigned for a single voyage or series of voyages to the carriers of a single bulk cargo, such as iron ore, crude oil, coal, or grains. A bulk cargo may be for a one shipper or a number of shippers, and the cargo may be brought or sold during the voyage. Third, specialist marine operations, such as support vessels for offshore and onshore, and other operations, salvaging, dredging, towage, coastal patrolling, piloting, firefighting, and others. So, in the last 3 decades, ship architecture and construction technology have gone through a major transformation. Natural gas has largely replaced coal and diesel as fuel in the ships, thereby reducing pollution of the environment. Containerization, multi-modular transportation, automation in engine room operations, and a high degree of computerization and digitalization of functions which were hitherto done manually. The use of the state-of-the-art instruments and mechanisms for ships to shore wireless communication. Totally automated cranes with booms which can run around 360 degrees for loading and unloading operations, and others have been installed which have made navigations of voyages and massive ships through very deep waters effortless and smooth, apart from reducing the number of crew members on board the ships. As far as warranties in marine insurance are concerned, they are defined on the policy, because classification of promissory warranties according to the time of undertaking is there. Classification of promissory warranties according to the nature of how the undertaking is there. Classification of promissory warranties according to their structures are also there. As far as express warranties and the necessity for their inclusion in marine insurance policies is concerned, they are also on the policy itself. So there are 4 warranties implied by the Marine Insurance Act 1963. That warranty of seaworthiness, warranty of port worthiness, warranty of cargo worthiness, and warranty of legality. So the main categories for which the term seaworthiness is applicable to are structure and other technical equipment of the vessels, design and construction of the vessels, latent defect in hull and machinery, navigational equipment, certificates and documents necessary for the protection, sufficiency of fuel provision and medicines, efficiency or competence of the crew, stowage and loading, and pilot. So warranty of cargo worthiness and warranty of legalities are important aspects, because Section 41 of the Marine Insurance Act 1963 regulates the legality of the adventure as an implied warranty. Not only the subject matter insured, for example, ship cargo freight, not be tainted with legality, but the adventure must be lawful and performed lawfully. So, considering the overarching role marine insurance plays in both domestic and international trade and commerce, the need for reform in marine insurance law cannot be overemphasized. The breathtaking speed with which ship and navigation technology is changing in recent years, the need for a thorough revision of marine insurance law cannot be held up for the long. Perhaps the powers that be at the center and the idea will look into the matter. Because if Section 43 of Marine Insurance Act 1963 had not created a continuing warranty status legally which might arise during the performance of the maritime adventure, insured would not have affected the validity of the policy at the inception, and the insurer may be obliged to admit a claim. It is Section 43 which now provides some sort of protection to the insurer from the assured's angle if a legality that might arise during the performance of the adventure had not been regulated through a warranty. Public policy in some cases would have invalidated such insurance from inception. In such a case, the assured would stand to lose his insurance cover if the illegal act beyond his control had been committed by one or more of the employees. So this is the status of the law. Thank you. Thank you very much.